Everybody. Hope you all are doing well. I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about it's titled The Low Energy of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I don't really, I've never really wanted to talk much about politics because I just hate having conversation about politics and it'd be like the weakest stuff. It's the stuff that people constantly, reiterate. And it's bothersome. I don't like that kind of I don't like those kind of conversations because uh, talking about the same thing over and over again is irritating, especially when people don't do what's necessary. But today is inauguration day for Biden and Harris, and the irony of the fact that people call him, besides Jim Crow Joe and Sleepy Joe, was pretty evident during the inauguration. I didn't watch it, but people were telling me about it. I wasn't going to waste time doing that. I have way more important things to do than sit around and watch nothing on television. It's just not, or sit around and listen to it. It's not why, for what. Um, uh, they were telling me, my friends were telling me that the commentators, the news commentators, kept talking about like, oh, he's the guy, he's the one who's going to bring us back to democracy. It's almost like the brainwashing has started all over again. I don't know if anybody saw the memorial service that they gave the other day. And because I don't sit around watching news all day, especially not mainstream media, I didn't have any idea that this memorial service was going on. And it didn't make sense to me because uh, it'd be like giving a memorial service while Pearl Harbor is still going on. Like COVID-19 is still happening, and actually there's like variants to it now. There's stronger strands. And you doing a memorial service to, recognize the lives of people who have died. I think it's like 400,000 people now, or over 400,000 people, because you have to remember they were not putting the numbers out when this first started. If anybody recalls what happened when COVID-19 first kind of came out, or there was like, whispers about some kind of virus that was in Wuhan, uh, a lot of the places, and even out here in Bakersfield, the places that were like more conservative were hiding the real numbers for COVID, or they were misdiagnosing people. And there's a couple of other things that have been occurring. So it's just interesting that they had a memorial service the other day. Usually people have memorial services after it's all been like, you know, things have gone down, things have like calmed down. And I just thought that was ironic in itself. Uh, and again, I didn't hear anything about it because I wasn't watching the mainstream media. And the other news outlets that I was watching weren't even talking about it. They were talking about the rioters who, they keep saying an insurgency. That was a pretty tame insurgency, but um, news outlets were talking about that, but nothing about the memorial service. So I just thought that was strange in itself, and it also made me upset because I'm like, instead of doing this, because it costs money for them to broadcast on these news channels. They don't get like a discount. Everybody's paying, so they spent all this money to be on television to do a memorial service, and it costs money to have those lights and do all the stuff they did the other day for the memorial service, when you could be putting that money towards people's families instead of sending people $600 checks or cards or whatever, or deposits. You could have added another $20 to that, the amount of money that y'all spend on this stuff. um Even the inauguration I found was strange because there's not all these people. Everything's like being watched on television. There's not people there. um I thought it was ironic when my friends were talking about like the commentary that was happening, and they wanted me to give my opinion, and I was just like, the commentary just sounds like a bunch of ass kissing. um One of the things they said was, oh, we've never seen anybody so graceful. He had run for office twice, and he ended up being a vice president to Barack Obama. I'm like, the reason that he ran twice was because people didn't want him. The same way Hillary Clinton, people didn't want Hillary. She's a terrible candidate. Biden was a terrible candidate, and this was all like manifested and created because people were telling him, no, people drop out so that Biden can take over. People did not want Biden. It's kind of like what they pushed down your throats, what they made everybody kind of like say, oh, we want it. That wasn't the case. People wanted some real change. And it's interesting that we're in this kind of environment where the ideologies are sticking around when it's clear that we need change. Clearly, the way that y'all been doing stuff is not working. After a period of time, you have to say, okay, this isn't working. All of your hopeful optimism isn't working. Let's actually put our money into action and give people the help they need. And just them spending all this money on inauguration when there's nobody there, I'm just like, this is nuts. I had another thought too. I want to expand upon something I had said about the riots that happened, the insurgent, as they called it, but the attack on the Capitol. I don't think people realize that a lot of those buildings are like museums. Like they're huge and they have like, um, I'm going to use an anthropology term, artifacts, right? Kind of like how they have in museums. It's a really big area and you can go and look at these things that come from history. So it was interesting when you watch the video of these people like running into the Capitol. First of all, it's a massive building, but running to the Capitol and people are kind of looking around, like taking pictures and stuff. And I was like, yeah, because it's museum-like. I mean, there are workplaces in there, obviously. And I also wanted to make the point that, you can tell it's kind of a museum because even how they had to block off some of the doors. They blocked off the doors with like the furniture, the artifacts that they hold so preciously, some of the desks that have been there forever. They pushed those things up against the doors, and I'm like, that just goes to show you that this whole thing it wasn't even secure the way it needed to be secure because people go there. It's a tourist attraction. So that's another thing that people don't understand. Like, why is the Capitol like the Capitol and some of the buildings there weren't really heavily protected? That's because they make money off that. They sell tickets to you to go in there and like look around sometimes. But that's just my thought, about that. There's a lot of things that federal buildings that like you can't even get into unless you have business there. Like, I remember I went to a federal building a couple years back. It was for the Department of it was the EEOC, and it was just a huge building, right? This is in Los Angeles. It's just a huge building. You go in, and there's like 4 security guards, and you have to take everything out of your pocket. You can't bring certain things in there, and then you go up to a certain floor, and it's all empty. Like, and there's this one room, and then there's these people in this one room, but usually it's like empty. So that was my experience, though, and you probably see more people in like the IRS office. But I guess my point is just that, all that money they spent on the inauguration, the filming of it, the putting it, the broadcasting, that money could have gone towards, again, towards the checks that people are looking for, the cards or the deposits. And yet they want to have us believe that this is important. Like these traditions mean something. At some point, leadership has to say, okay, we can bypass all this shit and get down to the work. We don't have to go through all the pomp and circumstance. People say, oh, it's tradition, it's tradition. Why are we prolonging these traditions when it's not beneficial? I mean, I guess, and the fact that like the United States creates money makes this even more egregious. If anybody has ever read the modern monetary theory, it's just interesting how they make it seem like they can't just give people the things that they need. It's a myth. It's not real. They create the money. It's just not real. They can help everybody if they really wanted to, but when the root of your society is based off um, slavery, you know, it's kind of like it's a failed state, it's a slave state, kind of like a banana republic, you know. Sunny Rain says that's too much like right for them. They do what benefits them while selling us a dream. Yeah, I mean, it's what they call the American dream. They are selling you, you know. I think it's funny that people are like, I'm still chasing the American dream. I'm like, so you're chasing something that doesn't exist in reality, and you know it, and you're admitting that it's a dream. It's just funny to me. It's just funny to me. But move that. But yeah, so again, like you were saying, it's too much like right. Oh, there's a delay. Hold on. Looks like it's a little bit of a delay. Okay, cool. Uh so kind of just observing, just hearing what they were saying from the news channels, people who are, proctoring this whole inauguration shit, the celebrities that they brought out to sing and do whatever, the hemming and hawing, whatever. Uh I don't understand how these people even make this much money in journalism. It doesn't take much to like just kiss the ass, just to kiss and lick all the ass. It doesn't how difficult could that be? They were saying that, oh, he's so qualified. Biden wasn't even qualified when he was in school. He got written up for plagiarism all the time. Like as many times as they tell you in college, like as a matter of fact, they have a thick ass like paragraph when you're getting your syllabi. They'd be like, "Oh, bitch, don't you plagiarize, you hoe? We're gonna kick your ass out of this fucking school, bitch. If we catch you do that shit again, we're gonna send you to some office of disciplinary. And then if you keep doing, we're kicking you the fuck out of this bitch." And then you realize like a lot of professors are plagiarizing. Like even some of the programs that some of these schools have are like plagiarized from other programs from other schools. Like they all borrow from each other, and teachers will like justify it. They'll be like, "Well, that's what education is. Like we borrow from each other." I'm like, mm, not when y'all flat out steal shit from students. I don't know about that. And they're paying you. Oh my gosh. But anyway, let me fix this real quick. Y'all don't mind the boobies. Y'all love boobies. Uh there we go. Okay, cool. So frustrating. So I think people need to be aware of like when you hear people on the news, like they're always going to they're gonna be, oh my gosh, how do I put this? They're gonna be so extreme with like how they think to like pressure these ideas into your head. You have to be a critical person. That's why education is so important. Uh and like common sense and critical it's just so important because they will tell you all day long how to think, and they'll say the same thing to you over and over again. I remember one time I had watched MSNBC, and it was on all day. Literally, like they just kept saying the same thing over and over again, just with a different face. Like it might be somebody who's a Black American. It might be somebody who's a Black Jamaican. It might be, you know what I mean? It might be somebody who's from the LGBTQ community. It might be somebody with you see what I'm getting at? Like they'll put these representations of society, right? But the people are saying the same thing. So you're perpetuating the same ideologies. You're prolonging your life here. And it's not working. The outside doesn't reflect what's happening, what you're telling me on television. When I walk outside, I see a lot of places closed. The comforts that people had to distract them from their shitty work life or the shitty dead end job are no longer there. I was talking to a friend about this, how in some places in the United States, they never shut down. Things are still like going. Unfortunately, in California, most of the stuff is like shut down, which is not helping anything really. Well, I don't want to say it's not helping anything. That'd be too much of an overreach. But it's, especially the homeless thing, it's not making that better because the cost of living is so high that living here doesn't even make sense. Like a subscriber who's from New York, we were talking. Actually, he's from California, but he moved to New York. We were talking about this, how just being in these places, you can't even live. You can't even live in these places comfortably, and you have to think about how many taxes Californians have. And I'm going to be honest. I think people are also very deluded about their living situations. And I don't know if COVID-19 helped people flush that delusion out of their head or if it made them more deluded. Because as I'm like observing my environment, and mind you, the people that live in this town are not the most educated or well informed even about their area, about their town. So I can only, pull so much from that. But if you're looking from things that are happening around the world, like other news articles or people giving their expression about what's happening where they are, um, things are getting tougher. And yet they want to spend all this time talking and milling over bullshit. Okay, so California and New York, where I was born, are both terribly expensive. Makes no sense. Shaking my head. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. If you think, especially with the income tax in California, I think it's like 13%. I could be wrong. But yeah, it's a large amount. And you're like, damn, like I'm busting my ass and you're taking how much money out? And mind you, this is not this is state of California. We're not even talking about local taxes either. And you better not buy yourself a boat because that's a luxury tax on that as well. Um, they also have taxes where, now mind you, I'm no millionaire. But if you were to make a certain amount of money, like in the millions, like probably at least like 5 to 10 million, you'd have to pay California a tax to exit. And so I thought that was interesting. Not that I would ever even have anywhere near that money in my lifetime, because it's just not set up that way. I'd have to be I would have to be like an ass kisser. I'd have to do all the stereotypical things. I'd have to go viral for me to be able ever to be able to attain that kind of wealth because um well, if nobody knows, I am a part of the ADOS and I'm a part of other groups where we talk about inequality, NAACP, the ACLU. I'm a part of a whole bunch of other groups. And about the inequality here in the United States. There was something that Biden said in his 100-day plan. He was like, "Oh, we're going to try to raise the minimum wage from $7 to $15 an hour." Now, I'm going to explain why that in itself is insulting. It really should be like $23 or $24 if we're accounting for like how they've never raised the minimum wage. They've never raised it. They don't even account for like anything going up. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna just keep your ass at $7 an hour while everything else around you becomes unattainable. Like it's ethereal. Nothing you can't get anywhere." So the fact that, and mind you, people were fighting for $15 an hour like 10 years ago. Y'all remember when that started? When like fast food workers were like, we $15 an hour. They've been doing this like 10 years ago. And now y'all want to try to put that up there as something that we could possibly do. What a fucking insult to people. How disrespectful can you people be? And it's not even mediocre. At this point, it's so blatant. It's so blatant. I don't even know why people aren't angry. I don't know why more people aren't pissed off. And I mean, people are pissed off. There are places where people are still protesting, and protesting is great, I guess, but I don't think it really works. And the reason I say I don't know if it really works is because people have been protesting for ever since COVID started. People were protesting for different things, and it's like for a year you all been asking for help, over a year, and they're not doing anything. They're like, yeah, we're gonna give you like this little bullshit. but we're not really going to do enough to help. And they always tell you like, well, we can only like budget for this much for this particular time, and then we have to pass another bill. I love how they keep jerking us around, the prolonging of their fucking bullshit. And it just blows my mind that people are like, okay, we're going to just let this shit happen. It just blows my mind. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you. By the way, if y'all want to interact and like, post questions or say anything, go ahead. And I'm going to read off your thing. I'm kind of free flowing because today I was just irritated by people. I'm walking down the street trying to avoid this whole inauguration thing, and people have their flags flying like, oh, yay. I'm just like, you people are deluded. The shift, the paradigm shift isn't like, it's weird. It's weird behavior. Like, get into grip, get into reality. Yeah, and Biden wants to raise taxes to 62%. Look, the thing about taxes is I think people have this misconception that the country runs off of, like, okay, let's say I go to work and the country runs off my taxes, or you go to work and the country runs off that's not how it works. They make the money. Okay, United States makes its own money. They cannot run out of money. What the United States has done has been to overspend in places or not spend the money in the right places. They haven't, the allocations of funds don't make sense. And you can see it heavily during the pandemic. It showed how weak the United States is in a lot of things. And so, smart people who can leave have already left. And the smart people that haven't had a chance to leave are probably going to, if they can. I think people don't understand, like, leaving a place is difficult because the customs and culture is very different. Like, if you went from California, you drove to Chicago or something, there's still like, everything makes sense. Like, you can go to the DMV and do things and get stuff done. You can go to the store and buy stuff and get things done. You can go and rent a place or whatever without any real issues. But if you go to another country, the freedoms that you have to travel from place to place completely change. And I don't know if people really get that because they live in their own world and they think that their environment is the only one that is real. So it's not easy to get up and leave. It's not even easy to get up and leave from a place that you're at currently. It's not easy to like uproot yourself. Like, if you're living here, it's not easy to uproot and then like go to another house or apartment that's like 20 miles away. The reality is some people just don't have the ability to do that. A lot of people don't have the ability to do that. So, it's unfortunate that people who are living in the United States and who could create jobs and help people and create more organizations, entrepreneurship, and all that stuff get hindered because they're so freaking stingy. Like, the whole not giving people aid and then making excuses. Who are these people are voting for? I'd be like, the most mediocre status quo bitches be getting into these positions. It's the most unbelievable thing in the world because they won't put people, they'll pacify people. They'll put like one person up who really wants to change things, has a real good spirit, and then you completely see them fucking change. Cause it's like you either come in and you're part of it, or you're shunned. You get a shitty job working in Congress or whatever. It's trash. I have a libation because today is the most annoying day ever to see all the ass kissing. Honestly, if any president is irritating to me. It's not just this presidency, it's all of them. Like, this is what we settle for. You know what? It reminds me of, okay, so when you're in school, it reminds me of, like, you're an excellent student. You're an excellent student. And you have to, like, teach the other people in the class. It's trash. This whole thing to me is bothersome. I don't know how I don't really know how people can. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Got myself some food, y'all. If you want to know, it's rice, broccoli, and chicken. Side note, someone told me I should do mukbang. I guess when you just eat a whole bunch of food on camera, and I'm like, what is this? What is this fetish? This is like a fetish or something? People are like have a kink for like people moaning and growing on camera while they're eating stuff. Yes. I was just like, is that what people want me to do? Mukbang, yeah. They want me to do that. And I was just like, I do like to eat. But some people, they be eating, they be like, getting real into it. They be like, hold on. Smacking and shit. I'm like, I mean, okay. Must be real good. I know, but I don't get that. I'm like, so you're gonna sit and watch people eating? And no one's interacting with them. They're just sitting there eating and just talking to the camera, being like, my day was wait a minute, they're like they be up to the camera too, like this, like my day was so hard. I had to go and pick up my kids, and you know, I'd be like, damn, people pay for anything. People be like, people are lonely. I come to realization, and that's okay. Like, I understand, like, it's hard to meet friends. Like, it's hard to meet like some decent human beings. I get it. At the same time, I'm like, God damn. So people will pay for anything at this point. I don't know. Hey, that's cool. I mean, I'm good. I won't be paying people to watch me eat, like watching other people eat. But I mean, if you want to pay me to to eat, then damn it, I'll make that shit so sexy. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, back to back to the topic at hand. I'm just not moved by the low energy. I'm not moved by it. Sleepy Joe, Jim Crow Joe, I'm not moved by the low energy. And it's just fitting. There's nobody there. Everything's dead. All you hear is some birds chirping in the background. They're moving all slow like the people on TV are like, oh, watch as the president makes his way to the White House and look at the outfit. And everybody's wearing these like really nice, let's talk about their fashion. It was like, you ever watch E News, E Entertainment, and they have like the fashion thing, the gala, the Met Gala, like, look at their outfits. They're wearing Vera Wang or whatever. That's how it was. I'm like, is this what politics is? Is it what politics is now? Fashion. Oh, look at the Calvin Klein suits all the men are wearing as they're in the inauguration. And let's get back to the mediocrity of Joe Biden, by the way. This dude was lying left and right, talking about, oh, the NAACP loves me. The NAACP's like, no, we don't. You fucking lying bitch. Can we also address this about, I'm going to go ahead and call it. I'm going to go ahead and call it like I see it. Attention is the new currency. Yes, attention is the new currency. Yeah, it's theater. Thank you. Wonderful point. Sunny Ray. Sunny Rain. It's theater. Um, Everybody's like a celebrity. I was trying to think of at what time was a politician not kind of theater or celebrity form. I want to feel like there. I want to feel like there was probably like a shift somewhere. Besides, Ronald Reagan being like an actor, being the mayor of California, and then the president. Crazy. I don't know if that's when the switch happened, but he damn sure is not a good example. Actually, none of these presidents are, but if that was the shift, holy crap. But uh he is he is so mediocre in terms of Joe Biden, but the thing that bothers me is how people are like, "Oh, these people with these degrees and shit, all these people who went to like this private institution." Like, for example, I'm no fan of Camilla Harris. Uh I was on my Instagram talking about how I feel disrespected by the fact that, I'm from California, and she locked so many black people up. Like, her truancy laws was shit. And I'm just like, people want to sit here and like forgive you or talk to you like for like redemption or whatever. And I'm like, not that, I mean, Joe Biden is bad by himself. I mean, he wrote the crime bill. The crime bill disproportionately affected black people, poor people, and made like uh drugs like worse, right? People talk about redemption. I'm like, redemption would be to let everybody out who was charged with marijuana and then allow them to sell it. Don't take that ability away from them. Let them sell it because they were good at it and they knew what they were doing. And they could actually bring more money to the country. People are like, oh, criminals. Stop. The war on drugs is stupid anyway. Because if you think about it, you're telling people who have autonomy, adults, people have autonomy, period. But you're telling people with autonomy, like, oh, don't you put this thing in your body, you adult? Please. People don't even wear condoms. Now I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying that you want to control people. Look how that's worked. People don't even want to wear masks. You don't tell me what to do. Fuck the science. I can't breathe with my mask on. Even though doctors do it all the time. I can't breathe. I got a condition. Like, okay. I don't know. But Joe Biden, nobody wanted him. And this whole, okay, again, Camilla Harris thing bothers me a lot because, she's like, oh, the AKA, the Divine Nine. If you know anything about that, that's like the elites of like the black community. She went to Howard University, and all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of you bourgeoisie, academic motherfuckers. I'm so sick of you people, because it's the whole idea like, okay, so you've done the coursework, you went through the time, you learned stuff. Okay. I'm not going to demean the fact that you've learned things. I'm not even going to demean the fact that you probably know what you're doing. What I'm saying is that when people put too much emphasis on that, they put too much weight on that, I have to question it because I'm in school. I work with people in education. I'm telling you, lots of people ain't nothing to brag about. Ain't nobody to call home to. Like, it's irritating. And it's disrespectful that, she's an AKA and she went to Howard. And yes, she's talking about, oh, I'm not going to do anything for black people. There was an interviewer who asked her specifically, are you going to do anything for black people? Are you going to help them with anything? She's like, no, I'm not. So she shits on the Kappa, like, she shits on the sorority, then she shits on Howard. How disrespectful. So you did all that to do race politics. Like, to get into certain positions, you did that to get in certain positions. I see what this is. Exactly. So it's just irritating to me, you know. And what makes it even worse is like she's walking around wearing Chuck Taylors. I personally like specific Chuck Taylors. And I'm thinking like you're gonna make everybody who's walking around with Chuck Taylors from California look like a fucking asshole. Like we don't this ain't thing really that's not the thing, you know? I don't see her as black. I don't see her as black. I see her as a mixed person whose parents are not ADOS. Like, there's a reason why there's such a why these things were created, why these narratives were created. Well, her father's from Jamaica, and her mother, I think, is from. I don't remember. I don't want to say that she's from someplace she's not, but I know her father is Jamaican or from Jamaica. It's just annoying to me. That's all. It's irritating to me that the perpetuation of the idea that and Obama wasn't a Black American. Obama was a mixed race person. His grandmother left him a whole bunch of money. Like, he did not have the same lived experiences as like myself and other people. Like, he did not have the same mixed experiences. Thank you, Sunny Rain. She grew up as an East Indian. Yeah, so it's just frustrating. And the other thing that I don't like is how all of a sudden, for the past couple of years, people have gone back to, "Hey, what's good? Good to see you." Um, for the past couple of years, people have been using this terminology, which is people of color. Do you know how stupid that is? And they want you to talk like that? Do you know, like, you know how many civil rights people died to not be called people of color and not have to like, oh, you colored people go to the back. You colored people drink out of this fountain. You colored people can only stay in this house. You colored people have to go into this outhouse. You colored people have to go. So it's so weird that people are like, don't get you started. Yeah, I just saying like when they want to force you into talking that way, it's just like I thought we got past this point. We press reset on the bullshit button, and we press reset on the bullshit button. So I don't know. It's irritating to me. I just keep thinking dollar signs. Every time I think about today and I think about the inauguration, I think dollar signs. I'm like, to broadcast it and all these channels had to be like at least 5 million at a minimum through all these different. It had to be. I also don't like the fact that why is it every time the race politics really fucking bothers me. When they want to bring people to perform, it's always got to be somebody freaking dancing and I don't know. Celebrity life has shown me that they're all entertainers trying to make money. Everybody's trying to get a bag. Everybody's hustling. These people who say like, "Oh, I'm independent," or like, um, "I make my own money." As an entertainer, you are relying on other people, and we haven't made any progress really. And you're really in the way to make it seem like we're making progress. We're not making progress. It's annoying. You know, I'm gonna tell you something that I found fascinating. This should have gave it away for people. At the peak, well, not even the peak, we're not even at the peak of COVID, but when COVID first started, celebrities were like, even still, they're like, oh, we're gonna be going to this club, and people were like catching the COVID, and I was just like, that shows you right there they don't have the money, because if they have the money, they stay their little fucking rich ass at the house and chill. There'd be no reason to have to go out and make all this money or do whatever. That shows you that they're working like us. They have to bust their ass to even live that lifestyle. But people are like, "Oh no, I could be just like them." No, you can't. No, you won't. Exactly, exactly. No one is independent. Everyone relies on someone. Yeah. Um, I was actually telling a student this too. A student told me, nobody runs me, nobody runs me. I said, everybody's run by something. Everybody's run by something. Don't like I don't have my we're not no one's a self-sustaining island. Islands aren't even self-sustaining. Islands need water and air. Like no one's self-sustaining, which is another reason why America has so many problems. This toxic individualism. It, it's horrible. Oh, well, thank you. You're very kind. I wouldn't say that I'm smart. I'd say that I know enough for now until I get to know some more shit. I'm at a normal level. I'm gonna quote somebody. It was a friend of mine who says, when people be like, "Oh, bitch, I'm smart as shit," be like, "Nah, bitch, you're at a normal level. You're at a normal level of intelligence." Don't ever. I would never tell somebody like you're. I wouldn't. If I'm having like a decent conversation with somebody, or you're having a decent conversation with somebody, there's certain things that you can like gauge and be like, "You're not too keen on this, huh? Like you're not too aware." To quote Malcolm X, Malcolm X said, "There was once a time that you didn't know what you know now." So I try to always think of that way. You know, I only know this because of this reason. So, but these, and there's another thing that's really, 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 really not being said, and I'm like, the privilege of whiteness is incredible. Uh, Joe Biden can't talk. Like he has cognitive problems. How is like nobody recognizing this guy can't really speak? Even when he has a teleprompter, he has a hard time reading it. And it's almost like it kind of reminds me of somebody who has literal okay, I can't even say it. Literacy problems. Like they can't put things together because he's old. That's why he's not good with speeches. And actually, he wasn't good with speeches back in like 1980 something because he would plagiarize a lot of his stuff. And it's ironic how they were talking shit about Trump, saying like, mind you, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm just looking at the hypocrisy of it all. Melania plagiarized Michelle Obama. Trump plagiarized a couple of people. Biden was notorious for plagiarizing. As a matter of fact, he I think I said this before that he got, they were like, "Oh, he would plagiarize into all this stuff back in the day." He was never good at talking. He was always a mediocre piece of shit. He was always the bottom level. That's why nobody wanted him the first two times that he ran. This was all set up for him to, come on now. Everybody else dropped out. Did anybody watch that? Everybody else dropped out to make way for his funky ass. Dude, I'm no doctor, but does he have dementia? Like, the thing is there were a couple of laws I think that went into exactly. It was never about Biden. It was about getting Trump out exactly. And then another person said, yeah, but people voted him only the only person they didn't want Trump, not because he because of who he is. Yeah, yeah, exactly. People just didn't want Trump. And I'm gonna tell you like this: as much as people want to disassociate themselves from Trump, please, please, You're not gonna use him as a scapegoat. Same thing how people like try to use black people as a scapegoat, like black American descendants of chattel slavery or other black people from around the world. They'll try to use them as a scapegoat for the bullshit, their policies and their things that they don't want to address. They're trying to use Trump as a scapegoat and say, oh, just these group of people, this little band of misfit motherfuckers that went out to the Capitol and did that shit was a part of his clique. And Trump is all the reasoning why all this shit is happening. Nice try. Nice try. It's not going to work over here because I know better. He is creepy, but what I'm saying is if you watch some of his speeches, like him just talking, he goes off. He'll just start talking about random shit that's not coherent, makes no sense. This is not me trying to be extra. I have no reason to make this shit up. I don't have time sitting around being like, let me talk shit about Biden. I got no fucking time for that bullshit. And he is creepy because he like, remember there was one that he did where he was at a pool or something. He was at a pool and he was talking about, oh yeah, like water up my leg, and these kids like put their hand up my hairy leg, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This makes no sense. What is he talking about? You gotta watch that one. He's talking about a pool and his hairy leg, and like, what the fuck? What is this? Like, people also forget, like, all these guys were caught hanging out with the guy who had like a sex island. Remember that guy? What's his name? Is it Epstein? Is that his name? I don't want to get the name wrong. But all these like presidents were caught like hanging out on his plane and going to his island. Not all these presidents, but Bill Clinton, Bill Clinton, Trump, Biden. I believe Biden was like hung out with this guy too. Like they're all friends. Yes, exactly, exactly. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, thank you. And no one says shit about it. Like, I'll tell you, people protect the shit out of white dudes. They be like, oh, we're not gonna even address the elephant in the motherfucking room. Well, if it wasn't him, a lot of them were friends. How can you be friends with people who hang out with a guy who does this? Because they ain't good people. None of these people are good people. Like, none of them. They're all terrible people. By the way, this is not a good way to raise other human beings, because if you show people this, you think people are going to be good people? No, hell no. Hell fuck no. So like, being a good person don't get me fucking nowhere. I gotta be the worst piece of shit, mediocre trash. Who isn't good people? I know a lot of good people. Just because too many grandpas running for presidency, too many people worried about their pockets, and old people. Because we have to remember, Barack Obama was nobody's angel. Yeah, it's that toxic individualism. Absolutely. The most selfish people are often the most successful. Absolutely. Is your name Aaron L? Okay. Yeah, the reason why selfish people are most successful because they're thinking about themselves. Kind of like opportunists. Like opportunists will like do what they gotta do. Nice, 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 nice. Left-leaning libertarian, excuse me. I think all of them are cool behind closed doors, and they answer to people we never see. Yep, opportunists, that's what they are. Um, I wouldn't say that all of them are cool. But I get your point. I know you don't mean like all of them, but you're saying like a majority of them are probably are cool behind closed doors. Yeah, I think that I don't think that some of the people are people that we never see. I think we do see them, but we can't touch them. We can't get to them. They're usually, the opinion of some people is that the United States is run by opacious oligarchies, capitalist overlords. I don't know if any of you remember the Masters of Industry. Remember that Masters of Industry and why this whole thing was created to stop that kind of stuff. Well, we're dealing with that still, the Masters of Industry, and the government officials are catering to them, and you can see by the resources that they pour into these companies. You can tell by the way they treat their people. They pour the resources into the oligarchies, these huge corporations. Bernie was too nice to go as hard as some of us would have liked. Bernie's been in politics for how long? He never had the heart. He never had the means and ways to do it, which is my overarching point. These people go into these positions and they may legitimately want to do the right thing. But as these things go, I guess I'll give you an example on a smaller scale. Like when people say there's good cops, but good cops somehow either go along with the company culture or they get weeded out. And I think that's kind of what Bernie and people who want to do things get treated. They either get really bad assignments, stuff that people don't want to do, they get weeded out, or they assimilate because it's not just one person; it's a system. So putting one person into it is not going to change anything if the overarching thing is broken or it doesn't work. Uh, I think some of the things that people need to really think about, and me and my friend Isaiah were talking about this, is if you keep putting men through the things that they're putting men through, like not be able to find jobs and um, find some kind of relief, I think society is going to implode on itself anyway. There's been studies done where they've worked with mice and they put them in like the perfect conditions. And even in perfect conditions, if the males in the society can't get what they need, there seems to be like a downward spiral, and women aren't, women can hold up a society for a little bit, but not to say that women aren't incapable. I'm not saying that at all. This is not a man versus woman conversation at all. What I'm saying is that you can't take a large section of your population, disenfranchise them, treat them like they don't matter, and think that like your society is going to be successful. It just can't survive. It can't survive. Um, okay, let me try to get back up here. It says, and they also take down others to get to the top, like sell them out quickly. They are not a team. They are not a team player. Exactly. If you are trying to make change, yeah, they'll definitely weed you out. Exactly the point I was making. Um, but where Bernie has worked with the system, he has also fought it. He's also given rise to progressive Democrats. There are now at least 11 of them. Change is slow, which is also my point, how change is slow and this incremental change is not helping. I have to say this. Okay. Oh, man, it's frustrating when you think about it because this incremental change is killing people. It's literally killing people. This incremental change right now is killing people. They do. They know Biden won't last. He will be a vessel to get Democratic policies passed, but he go. But he goes. We will have the first Black woman president. Uh, I doubt that. I doubt it'll be somebody who's ADOS. It'll probably be someone who's, mixed race or foreign or something. Because that perspective is important. The perspective of someone who's lived in this country and gone through the stuff that more people have gone through is important. I'll put it this way. Tulsi Gabbard, she's no longer involved in politics, I don't think. I mean, she's involved with politics, but she's no longer, I think she was a senator or congressperson. But they highly disrespected her, and she's actively in the military. They actively disrespected her, and there was no reason to. We didn't get this corrupt overnight. No, we did not get this corrupt overnight, which is why I was saying before how they're trying to put everything on Trump. And I'm like, y'all are adorable trying to disassociate yourself from your cousins and uncles and your friends and your relatives and all that shit. And I remember I said something before in another stream where I talked about how the thing on the Capitol was an inside job. And another YouTuber made a great point. They said that it's always been an inside job. I was like, exactly. This has always been an inside job. This is how America is. And y'all want to disassociate yourselves so tough. It's not going to work. For some of us, we know what this is. We walk around all day long knowing what this is. We get treated like shit in our jobs. We know what this is. We know what it is. We know the games. We know the ugly ways. We know the history. We live in it, Georgia Bird? Who's a Georgia Bird? I won't put you through the agonizing eating. People be smacking. I won't do that. Who's a Georgia Bird? Are you talking about the... How do you all feel about the... I don't know. I don't know if there will be change in a way that makes sense. I think people are going to be pacified by the little bit that they're going to give people. The fact that Biden came out with he's like, oh, my plan is to give people $1,400. Bitch, the fuck you mean? Yeah, they were trying to use like a language saying like, oh, well, we already gave them 6, so we're just gonna give them the other portion of it. What the fuck? Money isn't real. Y'all print money. You can print money all day long. The money will just go back into the economy because people are going to pay their bills. They're going to buy shit they couldn't buy before. And people are more prone to like, I joked with my friend. I said, man, people might quit their jobs because they're about to get, recurring checks. I hope that'd be great if they got recurring checks, but I don't think that was a part of his plan. Somebody else, another person on the Senate or in the House said they wanted to see reoccurring checks. And that should have been happening like a couple months after they started closing things down with the COVID. There should have been reoccurring checks. And they're still fucking around. So, but he was talking about, oh, we're only going to give him 1,400. I'm like, you people are on the level of retardation I have never seen, like, in my normal life. It's almost like a script. It's almost like you can't believe it. It's like it's like a portion of was it Dumber and Dumbest? Isn't it the third movie? That's what this is almost like. I'll be all mind having some libations. Please partake libations with me. Another thing I think is interesting is they keep wanting us to believe that it takes this much time to write legislation to get this shit done. And I love how they keep writing these bills to like, they call it stimulus package. First of all, it's not a stimulus package. It should be called a relief package. And it should be its own separate legislation. Stop calling this a stimulus. Y'all are so mediocre. You don't know what words mean. Stop using this word stimulus. Your economy is shot. You're not going to just stimulate it. The fuck? Imagine you need to be resuscitated, and the person who's trying to resuscitate you, they have the little pad things, they're rubbing the things together, being like, just give them a little jolt, little bit. Okay, we're good. No, you need more than a stimulus. You need a relief. You need this is a crisis. Give people recurring checks and stop acting like a bunch of stingy old uncles who have a like this. You ever know somebody who had some money and they act like they can't even afford to buy dinner or some shit like that? That's what these motherfuckers are acting like. Someone take you out to dinner and you're like, well, when you could still go out to dinner, someone take you out to dinner and be like, looking at the bill, recalculating. How much a tip is it? Oh, okay. They recalculate, look at the bill for like a good 20 minutes. You're sitting there like, bitch, I'll just pay for it. What the fuck? Yeah, that's how these people are acting. Like they don't got it, but they got it. It's trash. But yeah. So I just wanted to share my perspective of like the low energy that is coming. And it's just killing me softly with this prolonged bullshit. Yeah, they're stingy. This prolonged bullshit. I just can't believe people are still okay with this. Like, everybody's like, everything's all good. Someone told me the other day, I was talking to my roommate, the one who gave me the food, was telling me, nah, people know what's going on. People, they just don't know what to do. Da, da, da. I'm like, bullshit. People are status quo as fuck. Any predictions? Well, I don't know if he's finalized who he wants in his cabin. Some of the names that they came out with, I was like, so you're just saying fuck everything. Like, you're saying like fuck people. I look at things from more of a realistic standpoint. I don't have a whole lot of like optimism for the next couple of years, because I'm seeing how things are playing out now. And again, it's a bunch of pop from circumstance and bullshit. In the next 100 days, we'll see what happens, but I don't predict it's going to be great. I think they're going to do enough to pacify people, and people are going to keep acting like nothing is going on. Everything's cool. My life's fine. I'm not affected, so everything's good. I was kind of waiting to see what was going to happen with like the housing stuff, like the renting and the mortgage stuff, and what the government was going to do about that. And again, it's like for 6 months, and then they got to vote on it again. I just feel like all this doesn't look good. Like, I don't think 2021 is going to be good. I think that there will be another check that goes out. Will there be recurring checks? I don't know. They still haven't even got this virus down. Like they haven't even got the virus down. So they're kind of setting it up. And some of the doctors who talked about this said that COVID's going to be sticking around with us for a while. Like, it's going to be a normal thing in our life. Some of these doctors were saying, and I think just based on how people are acting, yeah, it's going to be sticking around. So do you think the masses are overall too passive? And if so, do you think that this will result in serious consequences for this country? Yes. I think that we're already going through some serious consequences, but there's a portion of the society that are fine. Their perspective is that everything is good. Some people are living in like a childlike, I call it arrested. Well, I don't call it arrested development. It is arrested development. They're stuck in like a childlike state of mind. They can't move on from the way things were, and they want to go back so badly to life before COVID. But life before COVID wasn't even good. People were suffering before COVID happened. I think the masses are passive because the masses here, a lot of them are their perspective is jaded. Their perspective is uh their perspective is narrow. It's skewed to what they think. And if they're not affected, they don't really give it much thought. I don't know. Yeah, people are partying. I swear people don't listen. Well, because again, another issue with this is that the government really fumbled badly on this whole virus thing. They did a poor job. Um, I know where I live when the COVID happened, they didn't take it seriously at all. At all. They were talking about, oh, we can't enforce people to socially distance. We can't do it. What they did out here, the city manager, they all declared a state of emergency so they can get funds from FEMA. And the news interviewed the city manager, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we can't do anything." Hey, good to see you. Oh, you missed me? You're so kind. Yeah, I've been living life, trying to survive out here in these streets. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but it's good to see you. Um, but yeah, out here, city manager like, oh, we can't enforce the social distancing, and yeah, we're not really thinking like anything is going to be so super horrible or whatever. So what they end up doing, the news after they interview with him, and they like, oh yeah, we declare a state of emergency so we can like get funds from FEMA and all that stuff. The news contacted Governor Newsom's office, Governor Newsom, California, and asked the question like, "What? Hey, how can this county declare a state of emergency and then not do the social distancing?" So Governor Newsom's office then contacted the Health Department of California, and the Health Department of California contacted the current health department. And 5 days later, the city manager got on television and was like, "Oh, we're good. We're social distancing." Pretty much what happened is that the governor told Kern County, you better fucking tell people to social distance or you're not getting a dime of this FEMA fucking money. Declaring a state of emergency, you can you have ability to allocate the funds where they need to go in in emergency times. And these fuckers were trying to like do a fucking scam. These people were trying to do a scam, and they got caught by the news, and the news like told on them. It was actually kind of funny. You've been watching since you were 13. Now you're 20. Hey, how old? I don't even know how old I was when I first started this channel. I was pretty young. I think I was like 18 or something at the time. And I did a whole bunch of videos. I like dancing around. I would be like flexing and stuff, and a whole bunch of stuff. Just a growing. Actually, a lot of people ask me why the name of my channel was Yes, I'm Kelly. And the story behind that was, living in California, you go through a lot of like racism, but the racism is a little different. I kind of described this before that, the racism is, they try to pretend like they're passive aggressive, or they try to like one up you and try to make it someone they're like smarter than you. That's kind of how like they do, besides like, the other stuff, but it's more like presentation and, oh, do you have this title? Do you go to this school? Do you have this particular credential? That shit like that. So when I would talk to people, whether it be on the phone or something like that, if I was going for an interview and they met me, they're like, "Oh, you're Kelly?" And I'd be like, "Yes, I'm Kelly." And it's like a joke. That's why I put it up there as my user, as my YouTube name, because I was saying it like, yes, I'm Kelly. Yes, this is the person that you hear and see. This is Kelly. Yes. I'm glad. It's hard to go to the gym now. Like, I'm not gonna do it just because I actually had to cancel 2 gym memberships because I just couldn't do it. Because the people out here weren't taking this stuff seriously, and this area should take it seriously in terms of coronavirus thing. And so I just did a gym in the house. Yeah, I went and I got which my roommate had like a barbell and weights, but I went and I got a whole bunch of equipment to work out in the house. So I've been doing that, and I bought like a weighted vest. So when I go out for walks and go up the hills and stuff, trying to stay in some kind of shape during quarantine. You can be sitting here eating all this food and not working out. You know what I'm saying? How's your progress been with your workout? Is anybody else tired of hearing like the national anthem? Like every time there's a president, they gotta sing the same old him and ha, same old things. And I'm just like, this is so annoying. Tradition. How about this one for you? This question for you. What about the fact that the flag should be flying half staff since 2020, and it should stay that way because the virus ain't going nowhere and people are going to be dying? Like, just saying. I just have questions. Like Socrates. There's actually a word in the dictionary that goes like, it's a word based off Socrates that you question. Questions and answers. Question everything. But anyway, I just wanted to share my opinion with y'all. Just want to come in here real quick because I was like frustrated with this bullshit, and I wanted to talk about it because it's annoying. Um, Especially when you talk to like older people. I hate to say it. When I talk to older people about what's going on with politics, and they'd be like, "We're gonna just hope and pray." And like, that hasn't worked. It hasn't worked. Speaking of hope and prayer, I'm gonna leave this stream on this thought. I know, right? I'm gonna leave this stream on this thought. Um, you know how people were like talking about the Lord is everywhere, like whatever you pray to, whatever your spirituality is, right? Whatever your thing is. Um, that this God figure, this deity is everywhere. Why are people so like they really want to get back to the church? I'm like, isn't your Lord and Savior everywhere? So wouldn't you take this as a hint from the Lord? Wouldn't you be like, or whatever you pray to? Like, again, I'm not religious, I'm just saying, why would you have to go there if you could just worship in your house and stay COVID free? Like, I was thinking, like, a lot of these tales about like plagues and stuff like that are in religious texts. So I'd be like, y'all been preparing for this kind of shit for a while. And when it happens, you're like, I want to go back to the church. And I'm like, this Zoom. Literally, you say the spiritual entity is everywhere. So you can just be walking down the street and like giving your praise. I never understood that. I always thought that was kind of like a strange thing. And the fact that they went like to Supreme, I think it was like the Supreme Court or something, and they were like, "Oh, we want to be able to practice, and not have to. We don't want to get closed down for our religious things, and they can go to their synagogues and their other religious places and practice." And I was just like, I don't know. The your religious text talks about how like there's plagues and stuff like that and things, and yet when the time comes, you just ignore that. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. But anyway, tell me what y'all think. Leave your comments and your other opinions, and I will see y'all again soon. Peace.